How to find and wholesale subject to deals. Guys, it's Rick, and in today's video, I'm going to show you the framework, what makes a great subject to wholesale deal. I'm going to show you the exact spots to go out and find it on your own. And if you stay with me till the end, I'll show you how you can do it just in a few clicks and get all the subject to leads you want. But before I get into it, do me this favor. Make sure you smash that like button, hit that subscribe button so other people can find the truth out about wholesaling. So you're probably going, why is he talking about subject to when this is a wholesale channel? And the reality is most wholesalers eventually cross the path of what we call creative financing. We're specifically talking today on subject to, which is nothing more than the art of taking over a seller's existing mortgage to relieve them of their problems. Specifically, I want to explain the framework of a subject to so you fully understand it. And I'll show you how this ties into your wholesaling business. Now, I've always said this, wholesaling is work and you're going to have to work, but you can make a ton of money, but you get paid for it. When we do creative financing specifically subject to, it is more of a long-term net worth building strategy. Now, you can wholesale subject to deals. So I'd like to go over the framework of how that works so you get a full grasp of the big picture, and then you can make a decision how you want to move forward with this. So a subject to simply when we take over someone's existing mortgage. And you got to be going, why would anybody on earth do that? The reality is, it is usually the best and only situation left to avoid the homeowner from either losing their house in foreclosure or writing a huge check for money they don't have. That's right. I've said the beautiful thing about subject to is if you educate your sellers, and they've tried every other option. They've listed it with a realtor. They tried to sell it on a FSBO. They tried to rent the property out and they go, Rick, I can't make this work. I've tried everything. And I simply come in, are you open to a creative solution? Like, we've tried everything. No, let me show you how a subject to works. Now, to me, it's critical that they tried each one of those steps beforehand because it closes those Pandora boxes. And honestly, a subject to works best when it's the only solution. It just comes down, is your seller open to it? And can you communicate to solve their problem correctly? That's all creative financing comes down, is how you really relay the message. Now, the criteria for a great subject to is, you have to understand this. This is the part of real estate, just like I tell you in wholesaling, is you can't sell these people. There is no selling, taking over someone's mortgage subject to. It just has to be a natural fit. Let me walk you through the framework. Number one, your sellers have to be 100% cooperative. I can give you this term 110, 120%, but I'm just telling you, if there is the slightest doubt, if they have reservations about it, let them work through that process before you try to ink a deal, because I promise you it's going to blow up in your face. You see, you cannot push a subject to. Your seller has to raise their hand, go, oh my God, Rick, holy moly, nobody ever showed me this. You can actually save my house from foreclosure. I don't have to write a big check and you can save my credit. Sign me up, Rick. And I walk and I still educate them on the entire process. You see, a lot of wholesalers get really pushy trying to get their deals done, and that's a whole nother video right there. I've always committed that you do not sell people when it comes to wholesaling. You either solve their problem for a motivated seller, because if you're selling them, it means you're playing realtor, and realtors aren't buying the properties, they're just getting the commissions off of it. So when it comes to subject to, they've already dealt with the realtor. They've already tried to sell the property on their own. They've already tried to pay the mortgage, they can't afford it, and they've contemplated renting it out, or they've already tried it. And almost every one of those pathways was a disaster. So what's left? Just let the bank take it back? Well, I got to tell you, my subject to offer looks really attractive when they're getting ready to walk away from the property. So that's how you get 100% cooperation. But if they haven't tried listing the property or selling their own, and they've got quite a few questions, that's someone I'm not going to ink right there. It does take time. So please understand, it takes 100% cooperation, because remember, you need their cooperation with the paperwork. You need their cooperation with escrows. You need their cooperation cooperation with insurance. You need cooperation with the bank information. And if you don't have a great relationship and they don't believe in you 100%, that subject to deal is going to fall apart. And as I talked about earlier, your solution for the subject to should be the best fit for them. They don't get foreclosed on. They don't have to write a big fat check, and their credit doesn't get destroyed. Remember, the realtors, all the other buyers, all the renters, nobody offered them solution. This makes you look like the hero. Now, I'll preface this by saying you need to get somebody in your state to help you with the paperwork. Why? Because all real estate's local. You need state approved attorneys to look at your paperwork. And guys, subject to is under more scrutiny than ever because it's come so mainstream. I don't want you to make a mistake. This is why I don't offer the paperwork for subject to. Work with your title company and a bona fide real estate attorney. Let them know exactly what you're doing and see how they can help you out. Now, I'm going to forewarn you, one of the pitfalls of doing subject twos is title insurance. Now, I don't want to get in the middle of this, but I'm just telling you, it's hard to get title insurance when there's an existing lien on the property because title insurance usually solves that lien, clears it, and gives clear title to a new title policy. So if we don't cash out the existing loan, which we know we're not going to do in subject to, this does create some title issues. That's why most title companies will not insure a title policy on a subject to. That is the norm. Now, there's companies that tell you, hey, we have someone that'll do that. I'm going to give you fair warning. Be careful, because if 95% of the country can't do it and you find 5%, you got to ask yourself, why can they do it and nobody else can? Heed the warning. Make sure you understand what you're getting into. A title company will help you facilitate it, but most won't issue a title policy because you have to clear the liens, which would be the existing mortgage. Now, I'm not a lawyer. I'm not a title expert. I'm just giving you my 23 years experience. I want you to understand it. I buy plenty of subject twos with and without title commitments. It just depends on each situation. Once again, run it by your local real estate lawyer and your title company, and you make a decision. But please don't search the country for a special title company that will do something that no other title company will do, because that can be risky. Now, my personal preference is I love to buy and hold subject twos because they build amazing long-term wealth. Now, that being said, that's my favorite strategy. You can do short-term flips by assigning your subject to properties, but I'm going to let you know, make sure you're selling it to someone that fully plans on executing on the deal, making sure they follow through on the payments, on paying the existing bank. My recommendation is using a third party to do escrow to ensure everybody's covered in the transaction. Because if you sell it and get a big fat assignment fee and your new buyer decides not to make the payments, guess who's going to come knocking on your door? That's right. It's going to be that original seller, and they're going to hold you accountable. And just make sure if you're going to assign a subject to, you're selling it to a high quality party that will follow through on what they do. My recommendation is using a third party escrow if your title company will assist you with that, to make sure all parties are covered. Now, let's get into finding subject to deals, because this is the really cool part. This is the easy part of it. Now, I'll give warning number 2. I don't want you to stop your wholesaling business. There's a lot of people that will bypass wholesaling because they found creative financing and they go, man, Rick, I can do this creative financing. I don't have to compete with other wholesalers. I can pay them a lot more, and it's just easy to get their acceptance. Okay, you'll get deals, but you're not going to make cash right there, because most of the times you're usually paying market or above market price. And that's the reason why you always want to wholesale. I get it. Wholesaling's work. You have to compete with others, but I always say do the hard work up front, and then you can collect those monies and you can use those monies to help build your net worth. Buy assets that grow over time, beat the inflation, join the inflation cycle, so your net worth astronomically grows. That's why I like to do creative financing, particularly subject to. But I'm going to tell you, I would never be able to retire on subject to alone, especially starting out, because 9 times out of 10, it doesn't produce cash up front. Now, I only like to do subject to on deals that actually make sense, where I can actually get a little bit of profit up front and have a very, very positive cash flow every front with a very, very low down payment. That's just my style. There's a lot of people who do it different ways. You've got to cater to your situation. If you don't have a lot of money, you're going to have to find no money down deals or low money down deals to get your deal started. But once again, I like to use subject twos to create long-term wealth because I don't have to go to the bank. I don't have to pay all those ridiculous fees. I would never depend on subject to alone, but that in my wholesaling business, it is a awesome marriage. And guys, please don't use this strategy to substitute your wholesaling business, because that's what pays the bills. That's what generates the cash. And at any time you can make a switch on that. So the real question is, how do we locate these subject tos? Now, some simple ways you can do it that really doesn't cost you any money is number one, good old Zillow. Just look at their listings, specifically look for listings that are on there at least 90 days or longer, and listings that are getting ready to expire. You guys can comb any type of internet provider that lists MLS. They share their data with everyone. Or you can do it the old-fashioned way. You can meet with local realtors. It's not the most efficient way to do it. But guys, most of these leads, just so you understand, are going to come from properties that have been listed or previously listed, because they have to sell them for the most amount, because most of these properties are at full price or slightly upside down. This is the reason why you're going to find them typically listed on MLS. Now, you're not going to see a lot of price drops, so I'm not going to tell you to do that one. You can look at days on market or even expired listings. So listings that are getting ready expired, or expired listings, withdrawn listings, or canceled listings. This is always going to be the case. Now, I'm going to be honest with you. Talking to realtors and getting them to understand how a wholesaler can take over a subject to property is a much bigger challenge than actually buying the property from the homeowner, because the realtor's usually going to get in the way and they want to get paid. And if they can't get paid, they're not going to promote your ability to buy the subject to deal. This is why I don't like working with realtors on it. Listen, I get it. Realtors, they spend a lot of time and energy, and I'm not discounting what they do, but honestly, maybe they should have had an honest conversation with their seller. Find an investor like me to take that deal before they put it on the market, because sometimes they can't get enough money to cover all the fees. Because guys, the biggest problem with the subject to is they bought it for very little money. Something changed in their life, maybe a loss of job, maybe they got to relocate, maybe they're having health issues, and they planned on paying that property down over time. Some people have as low as like a 3, 4, and 5% down payment. Well, guys, the average cost to close on a property is going to be anywhere from 10 to 15% between the realtor's fees, the closing fees, taxes, all that other fun stuff. And honestly, if they only put down 3 to 5%, you can see how they're going to be upside down on that property. So you can start with the basic searches if you don't have any money. What I want to do is share my screen and show you how you can get in there and find all the leads you ever want in subject to with just a couple clicks. Honestly, this is the easiest part of subject to. I just like to work outside of realtors or properties that are just getting ready to expire, because the only way you're going to convince a realtor to take your deal is if they're getting ready to lose the listing. And I'm going to be honest with you, it's still an uphill battle educating the realtor, because the realtor, you can pitch it to them perfectly, but how they transcribe that conversation to their seller usually gets screwed up pretty bad. And that's the frustrating part about it. So if you can get an expired listing that they've given up on the realtor and they're like, Rick, I've tried everything, it is the absolute perfect opportunity, but you're going to have to figure out the timing part on that. You just go through a ton of leads. I don't try to make realtors commit to my subject to strategy. Most of them get it. The ones that go, listen, I'm about to get nothing. If you can give me something, those are the ones I'll work with. But I have most realtors hold out to the end, and they're like, if I don't get my 3% or 2%, I'm not even going to show your offer to the seller. And I try a short window to educate them, but like some people are just stubborn, and you cannot drag a horse and make them drink the water. The same thing with a realtor. So I want you to understand with that. That's the frustrating part about subject to. Now the leads, oh my God, they're easy. Honestly, you don't even have to pay a lot for them. So, and here's something better. If you have an X Leads account, I'm going to go in here, share my screen, and show you exactly how to pull them. Check this out. So I'm just going to go under my property leads tab here. And why not just pick my local hometown here? And I'll just do Port St. Lucie, and I'm going to click on there, and then I'm going to go in there. Now, what I like to do is I'm going to take out condos, because condos are pretty much a disaster in the state of Florida right now, is you can use your quick filters tab. Now, how did I get in there? That's easy. If I go back to my map, I quick filters here, and boom. Now, the best one that I like to do is low equity. And these are people that are going to have 20% or less equity. Remember, I told you the average property sale is between 10, 12, maybe 15%. And the reason I bumped that number up is because some of these properties need repairs. But on average, it's going to cost them 10% just to sell it by the time they're done with the closing cost and realtors if they had to do it. And often that is the difference between a subject to and a property sold on MLS because they have no equity left into it. So if you look on here, it shows me I have 9,975 leads. Bingo. Now you can go through and call every one of these when you click on them. Not only you get the contact's phone number, you get their email, you get their mailing address, and you get their phone number. It's just like you're in MLS. Now, you have to decide, is it going to be a good fit or not? Now, keep in mind, you are just going to look at the ARV and see what they're asking for the property. Obviously, you're going to have to disregard the wholesale price a little bit because remember, if you're going to assign a subject to, someone's going to take it over so they can bypass bank financing. So we're not going to look at the wholesale number because it's not going to make sense because obviously it's going to be much closer to that ARV. But you can click on there. They'll give you all the information. Like if I click on this one, I go up there and this will go through and you can look at all the information when they bought the property, how many square feet's on it. You can look at the recorded mortgage if you want. You can look at the property taxes. So they bought this one in 2017 for $380 and their mortgage amount is about $363,000. And that's a little bit of their challenge. So if we go back to results, I'm going to show you an even more advanced way to do it. Now you can do this all day long. Now, if you want to take the ones that are on the market, you can do that. And you could do what we call basically a list stacking technique right here. Some of my other favorite ones to do that is I like vacant properties because there's usually intent that somebody wants to sell it. So if it's vacant and it has low equity, it's going to filter. There's 111 leads right there for you. I click on here, boom, I got them all lined up. You can sit there and you can export this list with all the skip trace information. Once again, it's included in your X-Leads account. We got you covered there. And there's plenty of deals. And guys, this is just one town. You can do this virtually all over the country. It's endless. Now, if I want to get it very narrowed down, let's get the ones that are in pre-foreclosure. Now it shows you there's 3 of them on here. So it should pop up and it says 3. And so if I'm doing this one-on-one, I just want to rip them off. I got 3 right here. I can call on and I can rip on and see what AI does for you in X-Leads. You have low equity. It's a pre-foreclosure. It's vacant. It's a zombie property, which means it's in foreclosure and vacant. It's a deceased probate and it has utility lien. Man, I would jump all over this property. If I click on here, they even give you pictures on the MLS. It gives you insights. They bought it in 2023 for $298,000. And if you go down here, it'll probably tell you what the mortgage is. Let's take a look. So the mortgage amount is $304,000. So they have an estimated balance of $294,000. Guys, these are subject to deals. The question is, can you get past the realtor? And if you can get to the homeowner after a failed listing, it is absolutely golden. Now, I want to give you a couple of options if you want to do this manually and you want to customize it. And once you get to know your local market, you can do this. If you want to filter out property values, you can do that. I don't really care when it comes to subject to because I'm buying it to take over the financing. That's where the real value is in it. You can do property features. You can do ownership information. Typically, you can do people that have owned it less than 4 years because that's what most subject twos wind up being. Now, you can also go down to mortgage information. This is the key information. You can set the values. You can do a loan to value or you can do equity. Remember, the low equity basically means they have 20% or less. You can put the numbers in here. You can do the interest rate. If you only want to buy ones with low interest rates, you like to target them and maybe you want to keep them for long-term cash flow, you can do it there. You can pick the type of loans you want. Not to get into this, but FHAs, you really can't take over the mortgage in the first 2 years. That's not my statement. That's the federal government statement. So if you want to avoid those, what I would do is I click conventional loans. Those are traditional bank loans and they're not issued through the government. They might be sold to the government after the fact, but you have less issues when taking over subject to. You can avoid VAs if you want, whatever you want to do. And then you can do days on market. How long has it been on the market for? Like, it's crazy. And then the other one you can do basically down here is if you go down to, let me come back up here, listing info. Now keep in mind, X-Leads we are not an MLS service, but you can go on here and you can do ones that are on market, expired, withdrawn, canceled, and off market. I would hit every one of these. Look at that, 1,064. We could do this all day long, guys. And keep this in mind. This is just one city. And Port St. Lucie is not even that big. There's thousands and thousands. I want you to break it down. You can do it by zip code. You can do it by city. I like to do city when I'm doing subject to. to, because when I pick up one creative finance subject to in a city I like and I'm having great success, I want to go out and find more deals just like it in that neighborhood. And guys, listen, if you're going to assign these, just do it responsibly. Work with a bona fide real estate attorney in your area and or a title company or in conjunction, and make sure you get the right paperwork. And if you're going to assign these deals, and you can make some cash up front of it, because remember, they're not buying it for the deep discount. They're buying it so they don't have to go get bank financing. Maybe they got credit challenges. Guys, I buy properties all the time with creative financing because there's only so much money a bank will lend you. And so I'm willing to pay a premium for these. I don't want to overpay for the properties, but I'll pay close to market value as long as the financing there, I can generate cash flow and I don't have to pay a ton of money. Guys, a lot of properties, especially investors, they have to put down 20 to 30%. What if you just asked them for 10%? You can make quite a spread on it. Use a third party to do the escrow to make sure original seller's intentions are honored and make sure that mortgage gets paid down. And guys, my last little hint on here, do not bend on the amount of maturity on the mortgage, meaning I like to do them for at least 60 months because you never know what's going to happen in the real estate market. If you're going to do a year or two, that's going to come up real quick. It's an extremely short-term loan. And if you don't have the ability to fund it, cash it out, or get the property sold, that could put you in a jam. So my recommendation is always 5 years. Remember, if you don't have 100% cooperation, if they're taking over a 30-year mortgage, you're in year 2 or 3, they've got plenty of time to write it. And I get it. If they need to buy another property, they can use that loan with a lease from you for substitution to offset that debt to equity ratio. Talk to your local mortgage lender, your title company. They'll help you out with that, guys. But subject to is a great strategy to incorporate in your wholesaling business to give you more tools in your arsenal to help homeowners out. Remember, the more problems you solve, the more money you make. And why not? Why don't we add this? Don't substitute wholesaling by trying to do something easy. Do the hard wholesaling and add the easy creativefinancingdeals.com. Anytime you want to market them, you just go in your X-Leads account, pull them up. You can go on Zillow. You can work with local realtors. Remember, you have to get past the realtor. That's the challenging part of Subject to. So guys, let me know in this video, in the comments, are you using Subject to as a strategy in wholesaling? I would love to hear from you. And as usual, if you got value from this video, make sure you smash that like button, hit that subscribe button so other people can find the truth out about wholesaling. This is Rick, and I'll see you in the next video.